You know it's going to be a good day when you're matching your mocha pot. Liquid consciousness. Okay. Today I'm going to turn coffee beans into chocolate. This is an adaptation of ChefSteps' dark matter recipe. According to some opinions I saw online, it was a little bit too bitter. I think James Hoffman said it wasn't quite delicious, I think were his words. So I altered the recipe, and the product that I made seemed to come out pretty well, so let's go. So for the coffee itself, I'm going to be using an Ethiopian bean. You'll need cocoa butter. I'm going to be using deodorized wafers. Going to need sugar, some salt, powdered vanilla bean. You can also substitute with vanilla extract. I don't think you should have too much of an issue. And optionally, some liquid soy lecithin. One thing you're also going to need, a melanger or wet grinder. This is going to crunch the particle size down to something like 20 microns. I wouldn't recommend trying this in a food processor, and if you tried this with a mortar and pestle, good luck. That'll take you probably a couple weeks. So I'm going to weigh out 200 grams of coffee beans. First up, I'm going to grind this as finely as I can in this cheap grinder, and then we'll move on from there. Alright, so we've got our ground coffee here. Next step is weighing out the sugar. 175 grams of granulated white sugar. And for the salt and vanilla powder, in addition to the soy lecithin, I'm going to use this jeweler's scale just to get it as precisely as possible, because when you're adding small ingredients, it's easier to make larger deviations from the amount that you're calling for. So 5 grams of powdered vanilla, or you can do, I guess, 5 ml of vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. There we go. 5 on the dot. 2 grams of salt. And finally, I'm going to weigh out 200 grams of cocoa butter. Now you're going to melt this down completely and then add half a gram of soy lecithin to it. I'm going to remove a little bit, actually, into this bowl and melt it separately so that I can weigh out half a gram on this scale. There we go. I'm going to give that a quick mix to disperse it, and then melt the rest of the cocoa butter and add this back to it. First you add the cocoa butter to the melanger to lubricate the wheels, and then you slowly add in the dry ingredients and you let it conch for a couple days. I'm going to do 48 hours. Add the coffee in slowly. I'm going to let that run for about a minute, and then I'll start adding the sugar, salt, and vanilla powder. Now the secret ingredient to this recipe is pouring in the rest of your mocha. Actually, no, that would be a terrible idea. Alright, next the sugar. Come on, Amigara. Do your stuff. Finally, vanilla and salt. Alright. Top's on. And I'll see you in 48 hours or so. Every so often, just scrape down the sides. You can see it's kind of coating the edges as it solidifies. This will make sure that you don't get any unconched particles in your final in your final product. Here we are 48 hours later, and the dark matter is now ready to be tempered. I've had so much caffeine these last couple days. One last scrape, let it run for a couple more seconds, just to reincorporate all that stuff. And then extract as much as you can and temper it. Now I'm going to temper this over a double boiler. Raise the temperature to 120 Fahrenheit, drop it down to 82 Fahrenheit, and then bring it up to about 88 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The one snag that I found was that this stuff would, for some reason it seems to be a lot more conductive than regular chocolate, and it would just shoot up in temperature. After cooling it, I'd put it over the bowl of simmering water for just a couple seconds, and that would raise it up a couple degrees. So just be very careful. Otherwise, it's very easy to overshoot that 88 to 90 Fahrenheit and lose all your Form 5 crystals. So currently I'm cooling it down to 82 Fahrenheit. One thing I noticed about this is that at higher temperatures it loses its fluidity and becomes kind of like a thick ganache at the same temperature. But as it cools down to about like below 100, it starts to gain that fluidity, and between like 80 to 90 it behaves as regular chocolate. Once everything's been filled, I'm going to set these in the fridge for about 30 minutes to set, and then unmold them. Alright. Look at that. This is chocolate made of coffee. Alright. Listen to this. Let me put this close to the mic. There we go. That's tempered coffee lit, or chocoffee, or dark matter, or whatever you want to call it. Shiny! And there you have it. That's how to make dark matter, or coffee lit, or chocoffee, or whatever you want to say. I'm never gonna stop doing that. So what's it taste like? It tastes like coffee, but in chocolate form. And while it still has a little bit of bitterness to it, it's not unpleasantly bitter. It has a decent amount of sweetness to help balance the bitterness and the overall flavor. I'll put a link to my full write-up with all my thoughts and notes and comments and stuff as usual in a link in the description, or just the description itself. And if you happen to have a wet grinder or you want to go out and buy one, let me know how this turns out. Alright, until next time.